Biomimicry and Insolvency Code. Additionally, she is a regular faculty member in training programs of ICI and other accredited institutions, having delivered over 300 lectures. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Ajayji. On this very, very nice occasion of the Earth Day, April 22, 2024, on behalf of the Sustainability Reporting Standards Board of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, and along with the Vice Chairman, WISC, say Anuj Goyalji, the Vice Chairperson as well, I extend a very, very warm and a very, very hearty welcome to all of you today on a very unusual topic of biomimicry. So we were wondering what we need to do on Earth Day, and we thought we should come up with something that's really different and what the audience would like and want to know. I'd also like to place on record my appreciation to CA Ajay Jainji and CA Gaurav Singhal-ji from the Agra branch who are the event enablers for this program. Extend a very warm and a very hearty welcome to Mr. Shiva from Biomimicry Compass, who's also helping us extensively with the Professional Skills Enrichment Committee of ICAI. I'd like to just take a few minutes to speak about what our board does, the Sustainability Reporting Standards Board. So we've carved out two very distinct activities that we will do. One, you must have all heard, there's a lot of action on sustainability reporting. SEBI has introduced the BRSR, the Business Responsibility and Sustainability Reporting, for top 1,000 listed companies, which have started disclosing the BRSR information, which is many questions aimed at environment, social, and governance. The next phase of this BRSR is the BRSR core, where the top 150 companies are required to provide assurance on certain elements of the BRSR, which has been carved out as the BRSR core with 9 principles. So the board is doing a lot of work to help both preparers and assurers in this context. The second activity which we've also started is this on the social stock exchange. You must have all heard that the SEBI has established this concept of a social stock exchange, and BSE and NSE have already created one. What's the social stock exchange? It's a stock exchange where an NGO can get themselves listed for their projects to collect funds. There is a two-step process of a registration and a listing. And what do you list? You list a project. What is the minimum issue size? It can be just 50 lakhs. A small NGO with a certain track record registers itself, says, okay, we're going to go build schools. We need 50 lakhs. What's the minimum subscription? It's only 10,000 rupees. What is the subscription done on? It's a bond. What's the bond called? It's called a ZCZP bond. It's a zero coupon, zero principal bond. So I go and subscribe to the bond of an NGO, pay 10,000 rupees. So somebody might ask, okay, I'm getting CSR funds, I'm getting donation. Why do I have to go to a stock exchange? The answer to this lies in the fact that going to a stock exchange and registering yourself as an NGO gives you credibility. It gives investor confidence. And until the bond is completed, the activity, the time or the tenure of the bond is completed, the social enterprise has to report. There are many enterprises which have just now got registered and a few have also got listed. That's the second activity that the SRSB does. We actually work to enable the processes and standards for these entities which are registered in the social stock exchange. And we also believe it will spawn a lot of work for chartered accountants in the social impact assessment space. If you open the NGO Dharpan portal, you have about 208,000 entities which are registered on the Dharpan portal. And that's the size of a market which represents a potential professional opportunity to a chartered accountant. The third segment that SRSB will now start very actively working on is sustainability itself. How do we enable the various constituents of ICAI to embrace the best practices on sustainability, and what better day to start than the Earth Day? You will soon hear a whole lot of initiatives coming up from the SRSB at a branch level and also an individual CA level on how we want to enhance the awareness of sustainability. How do we actually make sure that we remember to switch the lights off? How do we remember on what our washing cycles should be? How do we remember to keep the tap closed when we are brushing our teeth? Small things, and I think they could go a long mile. How? And the theme for the current Earth Day is also planet versus plastics and the amount of plastics. For example, we get something on Dunzo every day or on one of those delivery apps. The amount of packaging material that comes is phenomenal. How can we reduce, reuse, and recycle all this? And it's in this context that we have this Earth Day seminar today. And the topic that we're going to talk about is biomimicry. But that's a very strange kind of thing. We may not have heard of this earlier. So, what is biomimicry? Biomimicry is about valuing nature for what we can learn. Normally, we extract, harvest, or domesticate nature. We remove forests, we dig up the earth for mining, we do a whole lot of things. But here is an opportunity for us to learn something new. And in this context, I'm reminded of a very eminent chartered accountant, Sri S. Gurumurthy, who often in all his platforms used to say, you just don't need to be only an intelligent chartered accountant. You need to be an intellectual chartered accountant. And with this introduction, I would also we put out a Google form seeking your suggestions on how we, in the very large CA fraternity that we are, with our families all put together, we must be running to crores. If just the members and the students are a fairly large population of 4 lakhs and 10 lakhs, then imagine with the collective synergy of our families and extended families, what we could possibly do in the field of member and student education on the Earth Day. With these words of introduction, once again extend a very warm welcome to Mr. Shiva and to everyone else, and it's back to the speaker. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. Now, we would request CA Gaurav Singhal-ji, Vice Chairman, Agra branch of CIRC, to introduce our Honorable Vice Chair.
Thank you, ma'am. First of all, it's been a pleasure for Agra branch to be a part of this webinar on the Earth Day. It's been a privilege for us to be a part of it. I welcome the President, the Chairman of this SRC board, and Vice Chairman, Anuji, Speaker, Secretary, and all the technical staff and other members to join in the webinar. It's been a privilege to give the introduction of Vice Chairman C. Anuji. Dr. Anuj Goyal is Central Council member of ICI and Vice Chairman of the Sustainability Reporting Standard Board. He also served as the Chairman of the Ethical Standard Board, the Professional Skills Enrichment Committee, and the Publication and CDS Directorate. He has also served as the Chairman of the Ghaziabad chapter of ICSI and ICMA, with an extraordinary tenure of 17 years in the Central Council, 3 years in the Regional Council, and 6 years in the branch, including the Chairman of the CRC and various ICI Central Committee, member of Editorial Board, and more. He has made significant contributions to the profession. With vast experience exceeding 30 years and a have always been remarkable. He is a well-known speaker on the various topics and also serves as the I hand over for further proceedings to the technical staff. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Now we welcome our Honorable Vice Chairman to give his keynote address.
Thank you very much, Sweta ji. I am really very happy that we are celebrating the world's Earth Day. Very, very important for all of us. I am really very happy that under the leadership of none other than our Honorable Chairperson of this very, very vibrant Sustainability Reporting Standard Board, CA Priya Kumar ma'am, under whose leadership we are trying to do something very, very concrete through this SRSP. And I wish all of you a very, very happy Earth Day. And I am quite confident that we chartered accountants will certainly put our 100% to see that how we can have a more sustainable earth, and how with the help of the chartered accountants we can try to see that how we have already seen, I think 2-3 days back, that in Registan, how when we are tinkering with the nature, now whole of the Gulf, including Dubai and Saudi Arabia, I think it's witnessing the flood and the storm like anything. So I'm quite confident that with the help and support of all the chartered accountants, we will certainly taking a pledge under the leadership of Sri Priya ma'am, that how we can make this earth a better place to live, and how we can try to involve the members of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, who are the best accounting professionals, in this vision and mission of our honorable chairperson, Sri Priya ma'am. And I welcome our honorable event enablers. We are having C. Ajay Jain sir, who is the chairman of Agra branch. We are having Gaurav Singhal-ji, who is the vice chairman of the Agra branch. And of course, we are having the presence of C. Vivek Agrawal-ji, immediate past chairman of Agra branch, and the Sikasa chairman of Agra branch, the event enablers, and very, very prominent resource person who is helping us in a great way, Shivaji, who is going to take us on this very, very important biomimicry compass, and Sweta Goyal-ji, of course, the secretary of the SRSP. And friends, we are very well know that through this sustainability reporting standard board, which is comparatively a new board, but I think we have done a lot of work. We have to do a lot of work, and Sri Priya ji is always very, very passionate that how we can really do something very, very concrete with the help and support of all of you through this very, very important SRSB, not only for the professor, but also for the nation and for the globe also. And I'm really very happy that as we are celebrating our planet and exploring a fascinating field called biomimicry, and this Earth Day is a vital reminder of the importance of protecting our environment. This year, let's delve into a powerful tool that can help us solve human challenges by learning from nature itself. I welcome Saurabh Narayan Saxena ji, the secretary of Agra branch, the event enabler. And friends, biomimicry holds immense potential for the future as we face complex challenges like climate change and resource depletion. Biomimicry can offer innovative solutions that help us live in harmony with nature. And I'm quite confident that when we are having a very, very prominent resource person, Mr. Siva Subramaniam ji, I think we will be certainly getting the best on this Earth Day. I will not be coming between all of you and our honorable guest speaker. And I'm really very happy that n number of members from each and every part of the country, outside country, are amongst all of us. I think more than 2,000 members are here today on this very, very important Earth Day. And I hope you will gain valuable insights into biomimicry, and nature has the answers. Let's keep learning from its wisdom and work together to build a future in harmony with our planet. Thank you very much, friends.
Like to welcome CA Vivek Agrawal ji, Sikasa chairman and immediate past chairman of Agra branch, to introduce our speaker, sir. Over to Sir Vivek ji.
Thank you, Shweta ji. Am I audible? Yeah. Before introducing our speaker, Mr. Siva Subramaniam, to the august audience, I, CA Vivek Agrawal, immediate past chairperson, Agra branch, and the Sikasa chairperson, would like to convey my sincere gratitude to CA Sri Priya ma'am, Central Council member and the chairperson SRSB committee, and CA Dr. Anuj Goyal sir, Central Council member and the vice chairperson SRSB committee, for giving me an opportunity to introduce our speaker. Mr. Siva Subramaniam is the co-founder of Biomimicry Compass, an IIT Madras incubated company specializing in innovation through nature-inspired design. With over 3 decades of experience, he is an accredited coach, facilitator, and trainer in innovation, creativity, entrepreneurship, and cross-cultural skills. He began his career as a lawyer at the Madras High Court before joining TCS, before where he promoted innovations. Siva has also collaborated with the Indian national cricket team and Greg Chappell on the intersection of creativity and sports. Currently, he serves as guest faculty at IIT Madras, teaching courses on creativity, entrepreneurship, cross-cultural understanding, design thinking, life skills, and biomimicry. It will be a great learning for all of us to listen to you. Over to Swetaji.
Thank you, sir. Shiva, sir, now we would like you to take the session, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Shweta. Thank you, everyone. I am delighted, of course, I have been very delighted over the last 1 month since the time I met Anuj ji and Sri Priya ji and everyone in the ICAI, because I see a lot of enthusiasm, and I see a lot of love for learning from everyone. So for me, it's an exciting day. And the minute I mentioned biomimicry to Sri Priya, she immediately said we would like to have this subject. So for me, I'm only here as a representative of nature, right? Even though we think that nature cannot speak, nature can speak, but we help nature to speak along with being a representative. So let me introduce the topic to you. I'm going to be facing the topic in 3 parts. One, I will talk about what is biomimicry. Second, I will talk about how to do biomimicry, how to innovate from nature. And third, I will speak about industries that are practicing biomimicry. What I'll do is, I think one of you in the Shweta, there's someone who is watching the questions, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So what I'll do is I'll pause maybe after about 10-15 minutes, ask for the questions that have come in, and then answer those questions, again go on to the next and the next, right? So there'll be essentially we're talking about 3 sections for today. The time is now 2:25. We should be done by about 3:30, 3:40, and then of course we still have lots of time for questions. So again, thank you very much. I'm extremely honored that I'm able to speak on Earth Day. Let me start. I have a presentation for you. Let me start sharing my screen. So that's what it is. Biomimicry is learning from nature. Yeah. Learning from nature is biomimicry. You can see those pictures there, pictures of the bees, pictures of fish, pictures of the frog. And suddenly you're asking, the key word there is learning. The key word there is learning. Automatically, the minute you use the word learning from nature, you start to look at nature as your teacher, right? So therefore, you can substitute that word nature to say learning from a teacher called nature. So that is biomimicry. Biomimicry essentially is learning from nature. A little more about biomimicry. So this is the definition of biomimicry: practice that learns from and mimics the strategies of nature. That means nature has some strategies. All you are doing is mimic those strategies. You are imitating those strategies to solve human problems. So therefore, the 3 things in this slide. You have a human problem. You have a problem of, let us say, making clean fabric. You have a problem of making fabric clean. You want your clothes are getting dirty. You want to keep them clean. You ask yourself what in nature keeps it clean, and then you look at the strategy. So you walk into a forest. And you see a lotus leaf. A lotus leaf, you start admiring the lotus leaf because the lotus leaf is so clean. It's surrounded by dirty water. In spite of that, it's clean. You learn to say wow to nature. But you move from wow to how. You ask yourself, how does nature keep clean? How does the lotus leaf keep itself clean? And then when you examine the lotus leaf further, you find that the lotus leaf has these small, micro bumps on it. And when the water falls on the lotus leaf, the water is washed away. And when the water is washed away, the dirt is washed away. And suddenly you're looking at not a lotus leaf, you're looking at an engineer. You know why? Because if you had someone amongst us who was able to keep this fabric clean, would you not admire that person? Would you not say, this guy is such an intellectual person, such an intelligent person, such a great scientist? So suddenly you start to understand the lotus leaf is not just a lotus leaf. The lotus leaf is also a technocrat who is able to keep itself clean. And then you ask yourself, now, I have a problem in my world. My clothes get dirty, my walls get dirty. How do I transfer this technology from the lotus leaf to the real world? And then you come back and study the lotus leaf and you use that technology to create new fabric. There is actually a company called Lotusan Paint, Lotusan, Lotusan, Lotusan Paint, which makes paint using this technology. So looking at nature, understanding nature, learning from nature, and using that strategy in order to create new products and processes to solve human problems is biomimicry. And in this process, sustainability happens because nature does not destroy. Nature allows everything to thrive. Nature does not use toxic chemicals, right? So the paint that you manufacture is actually very sustainable simply because you have copied the technology of the lotus leaf. So that is biomimicry. I'm sure that by now every one of you can define biomimicry saying understanding nature's strategies for innovation and copying that strategy. Biomimicry. Keep sending your questions so that we start to clarify. So essentially what we're learning about is learning from nature. Now look at this, okay? There's a picture of a tree. I'm going to distinguish between learning about nature to learning from nature. On the left is biology, what all of us learned in school. The minute you look at a tree, you learn these things, right? You learn what is the name of the tree. The name of the tree is it's a neem tree. What is the size of the tree? The size of the tree, it is a medium-sized tree reaching 15 to 30 meters in height. It's always green. Sometimes it sheds its leaves. All these things we learn in biology. The leaflets are arranged in a particular way. We can find a pattern in the leaflets. It's grown in dry tropical regions. This is what all of you have done in biology and what you can use the tree for. You can use the tree for timber. You can use the tree for cosmetics, for medicines. So this is biology. But the same tree is also an engineer. So at IIT Madras, for instance, normally in the campus, we have about 10,000 students. But once you look at the tree and say the tree is also teaching me something, the 10,000 gets multiplied 10, 20-fold. There are 1 million engineers in IIT Madras, in the campus, simply because every tree, every organism, every deer, every monkey, everything is an engineer, is a technology person. But how? How does a tree become an engineer? This way. Look at what the tree is doing. Look at what the tree is doing. The canopy of the tree humidifies the air around it and brings rain. Can you imagine the technology that's going on there, right? From now on, the way you look at a tree will change because no more will you look at a tree and say, can I cut this tree and use this tree? You'll start to admire the tree because the tree is humidifying the air around it and allowing rain to happen. What else is the tree teaching us? Look at what the leaves are doing. The leaves are capturing solar energy and non-toxic and biodegradable materials. It's not using toxic materials to capture solar energy. Every leaf is capturing solar energy. And look what else it's doing. The limb, there's only one tree, right? There's a huge tree. Look at the weight of the tree. The whole tree is supported by just one limb. And finally, what else is the tree teaching us? That the trunk moves water against gravity. You water the tree and the water is taken from the ground level up. No electricity, no pump, nothing at all. The water is taken right up to the top. How does the tree do it? How does the tree do it? is biomimicry. Can I therefore transport water from the ground level up to the 4th and the 5th and the 6th floors without using electricity? The tree is teaching me how to do that. So once I understand, once I trust, once I understand that the tree is teaching me, and when I am able to learn what the tree is teaching me and apply those teachings in order to bring them into the real world, I am a biomimic. What are we therefore learning? We are learning sustainability at its best, right? We are learning from a 3.5 billion year old teacher. We are learning from a teacher who has understood gravity, who has understood electricity, who has understood how to pull water from the ground level to the top. And the tree is ready to teach us, does not have to file IP and own the knowledge and things like that. The tree is telling us, come learn from me how to take water from the ground level up to the top. I'll teach you. And this is what we do when we teach biomimicry. We teach our students how to do that. We teach our students how to understand the strategy of the tree and translate it into the real world. So what you have learned up to now is biomimicry. Biomimicry is learning from nature. Every tree, every organism in nature is a technology person, is a technocrat using some technology. And all we have got to do is imitate the technology, imitate the strategy into solving real problems. And not just engineering problems. While I'm speaking to you, I'll also speak about how nature can help you to solve problems of team building, for problems of stress management, problems of cooperation, etc. Any questions up to now, please type in and Shweta will ask me those questions. Shweta, interrupt me, 3 more slides and then I'll stop for the questions. Yeah, okay, Shweta? So here we are getting into how can we view biomimicry? So biomimicry we can talk about as a model, right? So therefore what we are doing is looking at nature as a model, saying, okay, I'm sure all of you in the chartered account community understand what is a model. A model is something that you see, you understand and you copy. So nature as a model, nature is doing something. How can I do the way nature is doing? Model. I'm sure measure is a very popular word among the chartered account community too. So therefore, I'm measuring myself. I'm saying, this is what I am doing. How can I measure what I am doing against the sustainable practices of nature? Am I doing what nature is also doing? Because I know that nature is the sustainability champion, right? Now, am I measuring myself against what nature is doing and learning how the difference happens, right? What is nature doing? What is I am doing? And finally, nature as a mentor. I'm sure all of you in your school days and your college days and now in the profession have someone as your mentor. Who is a mentor? A mentor is someone who takes care of you. A teacher is someone who teaches you. A coach is someone who helps you with a small problem. A mentor is a little more than a coach and a teacher. A mentor is always aware who you are, is interested in your life, and helps you to grow in your life. A mentor doesn't directly interfere with your work, with your thinking, but is always around to help whenever you want. So therefore, nature can be a mentor because we are saying this mentor has already done a lot of things for sustainability. How can nature be my mentor, right? So that's the principle of biomimicry. The 3 core elements of biomimicry are: we learn from nature, which is emulate. Emulate means we learn by imitating nature. The philosophy of nature is not to harm anything at all, not to destroy, which is the ethos of nature. And finally, reconnect. Why are we here on Earth Day today? Because we are reconnecting with nature. We are saying Earth and I, nature and I must get back together. We have been separated from each other for too long. So can we come back? Right? This is more about the philosophy of biomimicry. I'm going to get into the basic biomimicry now. This is the lady who started it all, 1998. She wrote this book called Innovation Inspired by Nature. Her name is Janine Benyus. So I was inspired to learn biomimicry from the book that she has written and from the website. And now my life has changed. I'm teaching biomimicry. I'm championing biomimicry. I think, and I had the great opportunity, of course, to speak on Earth Day on biomimicry, all because of one person who thinks that the world must think differently. She's got lots and lots of videos Janine Benyus has made. You can look at them and learn a little more on biomimicry. So the question now, is this I know that you cannot interact with me, I know that, but the question is, biomimicry is to be distinguished from bio-inspiration. I'm sure many of you in your houses have got plants in your houses, have got a garden in your terrace, have plants inside your house. Many of you have green covering. Is that biomimicry? That is not biomimicry. That is what is called biophilia. Biophilia is a love for nature, wanting to be close to nature. There's nothing wrong. In the sense, it's not as if it cannot be practiced. I'm only trying to distinguish the different types of bio-inspiration. One of the ways of bio-inspiration is biophilia. Biophilia means love for nature, being close to nature. Bio-inspiration, I'm sure every one of you recognizes this picture. There is this picture of someone making Ayurvedic medicine, and there are a lot of herbs and things around. Is this biomimicry? No, it is not biomimicry, because you are inspired, you're using natural materials. So this is more of what it says bio-utilization. You are using nature, you're using the products of nature in order to make medicines and things like that. But it's again bio-inspiration, you're inspired by nature. Is this biomimicry? I'm sure every one of you is starting to answer now. It's not biomimicry, because it is simply what is called biomorphism. You are making things that look like nature, right? That's the lotus temple, and here is a chair shaped in as a shell, right? And therefore, what you're saying is, you're looking at a shell, you're looking at a tree, you're looking at the lotus, and you're saying, can I make something out of this? So biomorphism. And finally, biomimicry is using the function of, look at this picture, please. Look at this picture. What do you see? You see a shark. Now, why have I shown you a shark's picture? Because when the shark goes to the water, nothing attaches to it, right? Nothing attaches to the skin of the shark. So what I do is, the bacteria is repelled by the shark. The bacteria is repelled. So the shark's skin is fulfilling a function, the function of repelling bacteria. Now, what I learn is, I'm learning that in spite of the shark swimming in all sorts of waters, bacteria is not attached to the skin of the shark. That means the shark is fulfilling a particular function. What I do is imitate that function, and I actually come back with a company called Sharklet, which uses the principle. So I don't even have to touch the shark. I don't have to destroy the shark. I don't have to catch the shark, nothing. I just have to learn from the shark. What does the shark do? The shark repels bacteria. In the real world, what attracts bacteria? If you go to visit your friend in hospital, many of you get sick. Why? Because when you go to the hospital is full of bacteria. The bed is full of bacteria. So you touch the bed, you're just speaking to your friend. And when you come back, the bacteria is attached to yourself, your hand, right? Where if the doctor is using a catheter tube, the catheter is full of bacteria, and it's again causing a lot of harm to the human being. So what do you learn? You learn that you can make the bed similar to the shark skin. You can make a catheter similar to the shark skin. You can make the clothes of the doctor similar to the shark skin. And suddenly you're saying, I'm learning from the shark. I'm learning how to repel bacteria. I'm learning how to keep myself bacteria free. So that is I'm going to pause for some time. I'm going to ask Shweta if she's received some questions, because we are going to the next phase of how to do biomimicry. So any questions you have up to now, please let me know. Yes. Shweta, have you got any? Any questions? I've got a question. How do you see biomimicry contributing to address? Yes, I will answer that question. I will answer that question. Yes, I mean my presentation will have a piece on how can biomimicry address current environmental challenge. In what ways do you think biomimicry can influence the future of architecture? Yeah, of course, this is the popular one. Almost every architect now is turning to biomimicry to find out how we can use the environment, how we can. Okay, just for your benefit, whoever asked the question, there is a lovely example from architecture in Harare. Harare has the shopping mall, and the shopping mall. If you go to that shop, it's called Eastgate Shopping Mall. If you go to Eastgate Center, you will find that Eastgate Center is using about 40% less energy for air conditioning. Now, how does the Eastgate Center do it? The architect who designed Eastgate Center, he looked at the termite mound, and he found that the termites inside the mound have kept the temperature of, let's say, 28, 29 degrees constantly. How do they do that? They draw in cold air in the night and throw out the warm air in the morning, right? And thereby they keep the termite mound cool all the time. So what the architect did, Mick Pierce, his name is, he imitated the termite mound and used the same principles of the termite mound in the Eastgate Center. So what are we learning? We're learning that architecture can really benefit from how nature handles climate, how nature handles heat, so how long do you think this air condition that I'm sitting in is going to be there, right? It has to stop at that time. And I think that's when architects will all turn to biomimicry, to nature, to find out how nature makes things. It's a lovely question. Thank you. Could you discuss the role of interdisciplinary collaboration in advancing biomimicry? Yeah, I'll do that. Yes. So thank you for your questions. Keep them coming, because I'm going to the next phase of my lecture, which is how does one do biomimicry? So now, if your questions can be around how does one do biomimicry? Okay, now let's look at this. Okay, this is the last slide we saw. So there is a process, just like, I'm sure all of you as chartered accountants understand that accounting is a process, that you start from step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, and then go on, right? And I think all your life is about a process. My life too, in a way, as a teacher, is about a process. What is the process in order to start with biomimicry? Just give me about 10 minutes of your attention, please, and you will understand what I'm saying. The first question you asked in biomimicry is, what is the problem I want to solve? As usual, right? In all creative effort, you start with, what is the problem I want to solve? Second, you ask yourself, what is the problem I want to solve? Let us see, I'm using this example, purposely I'm using a non-technology example, because I want you to go away saying that biomimicry can also be for non-technology issues. I will come to a technology issue later on. So let's assume that you want to manage stress. All of us have stress in our lives, right? Let us assume you want to manage stress. So you ask the question, how can I manage stress better? How can I cope better with stress in my life? How can I deal with stress, right? This is your question. Now, I need to stop sharing, please. I need to tell you something exceedingly important. Now you have a problem to solve. I want to stop being stressed out. Now, if you are a biomimic, you will ask the question, how does nature deal with stress? And that is the central question. If you forget everything today, except this one central question, which is the mind shift question, right? The mind shift question is, what I've heard from Shiva is to ask the question, I have a problem to solve. How does nature solve that problem? I have a problem to solve. How does nature solve that problem? I have a problem to solve. How does nature solve something I want to solve? Is the core of what we are learning today. That's all it is. You don't have to. I know many of you will probably forget everything in the next 1 week. That's okay. That doesn't matter. But as long as you go away with one single thought, that today I have learned biomimicry, and all I have learned is to ask the question, how does nature solve what I want to solve? And that is enough. That is enough for building a sustainable world. If every person in this world starts to ask that question, I want to solve the problem, how does nature solve it? Because we understand that once we get the answers to our question, it's a sustainable answer. It's an answer that doesn't harm anything. It's an answer that's built in sustainability principles. That's all I'm requesting you to do, please. If you're listening to this lecture, I'm just requesting you to change the mindset from saying to saying, I have a problem, how does nature solve it? I have a problem of keeping my clothes clean, how does nature solve it? I have a problem of regulating temperature, how does nature solve it? I have a problem of protecting my head, how does nature solve it? I have a problem of not wasting energy, how does nature solve it? How does nature solve what I want to solve? Is a central question in biomimicry. This is what helped me learn biomimicry, because I said, wow, what is this? I've always thought that maths, physics, and chemistry are the ones to solve the problem. I'm saying here, no. I'm actually using biology to solve the problem. I'm actually using nature to solve the problem. So coming back to the slide, right? We started with the problem. We started with saying, how does nature handle stress? So this is the problem I have. How can I manage stress better? How can I cope better with stress in my life? Now what do? We go to the second step saying, how does nature solve this problem? How does nature deal with stress? And when we say, how does nature deal with, I need to stop it again just to come back to you. Once you say, how does nature deal with stress? The natural question is, what in nature deals with stress? Do fish deal with stress? How do they do it? Do trees deal with stress? How do they do it? Do crows deal with stress? How do it? So you ask yourself, what in nature solves the problem? If you have any comments, this is the right time to type in the comments, because we are learning the process now. I have a problem to solve. I want to know, how does nature solve it? The next question is, what in nature solves it? So you have to find out what in nature solves it. I'm going to take you to a fascinating website. I'm going to take you to a fascinating website called asknature.org. Asknature.org, and just look at that website, and you will. Yeah. So this is the asknature.org website, where 1,800 organisms are available to us to find out how they solve something. So if you go to asknature.org, look at the website's name, Ask Nature. It's time to ask nature. So you go to biological strategies in Ask Nature, and then you look for strategies. And look at this page, okay? Look at this page. This has got 1,800 organisms that solve problems. For instance, young leaves channel water, vessels resist bubble formation, woolly spider monkeys influence fertility, enzymes break down, woodland ecosystems recover, defense mechanism deters predators. Look at all this. Collective body heat warms nest. All these organisms that solve problems, and we have a chance to learn from these organisms. This is called asknature.org. So this page will tell you what in nature solves stress, right? So this is just to introduce you. I'm going to give you a minute to look at the page. So, for instance, supposing I want to find out how young leaves channel water. I go to young leaves, I click on young leaves channel water, and then the entire strategy of the young leaves comes in front of me. So therefore, what the young leaves are, and then it comes to what is the strategy of the young leaf, and finally it tells me how it solves that problem. There are also some videos, some industries, etc., that use this technology. So therefore, here you see sacred lotus allows self-cleaning, leaf channel dew as a water source. So can you imagine these leaves actually make water by using dew, and then leaves channel, tropical plants channel water off their surface. So therefore, what we are learning, so this is the page. You go to the page, you select the organism, you find out what the organism does and come back and imitate that. So this has also got other things like what are the innovations from nature that you can look at. So all these are the innovations that the world has already, wind turbines. So all these are the innovations that have come out of biomimicry. Walking robot. Right? And then you also have other things like for educators and essays and things like that. This is your go-to page for biomimicry. I'm not seeing any questions. I need some questions. Okay. Anyway, so once you understand, once you go to asknature.org, you come back. What was the question that we had? Our question was, how does nature solve for stress? And then in asknature.org, you will find the following. So you have gone to asknature.org, and then you find that in Ask Nature, you have ants. So how do ants solve stress? Ants solve stress by ants have interactions with nearby individuals or take cues from the local environment to help make decisions. So you can try and find out if you can learn from ants, how you can interact with local environments. If you are very stressed, how can you go to the local chapter? How can you go to the local community and try to de-stress yourself the way ants do? Or you can look at snow monkeys. How do snow monkeys get rid of stress? They're very close with their trusted peers. They choose someone who's very, very close to them, and they try and find out if they can share their stress. So maybe you can do the same thing. And then look at the iguana. The iguanas repeatedly deplete. The iguana repeatedly deplete and then regrow bone during. So therefore, whenever there's a shortage of food, the iguana sheds its bones. They regrow their bones when there is more food. So is there something we can do to get away from something, right? When I'm very stressed, can I stop doing something? Can I stop doing something so that I don't have to get into stress? If I'm getting too much of stress by let's say staying too late up at night, can I learn to sleep early so that I don't encounter stress? So essentially, what have we learned? I have a problem to solve. I find out how does nature solve that problem. I ask what in nature solves the problem. I find out how does that in nature solves the problem, and finally I imitate that. That's all. Any questions? Because I'm going to the third phase of my lecture now. Any questions? Let me know. Shweta?
No, as of now, no.
So then you say, how can I deal with stress like the iguana? How can I manage stress like the ant? And how can I cope with stress like the snow monkey? So I'm just repeating the process for you. Step 1, what is the challenge I want to solve? Step 2, how does nature solve the problem? And step 3, how can I use nature's way to address that solution? Yes, I'm waiting for some questions now. Just about 2 minutes I'll wait for the questions, because what have you learned up to now? You have learned what is biomimicry, what is not biomimicry. You have learned the process of biomimicry with those 3 questions. There must be something in your head that's happening. And if you can type in that chat question, I can go to the next phase of what I want to do. Give me one question.
There is one question. I hope you have not answered yet. How does the tree example translate into stress-free life? Or what example can be learned from the tree in order to be stress-free?
Tree.
Free, sir.
TREE. What is the question? Say it again.
Sir, how does the tree example translate into stress-free life? Or what example can be learned from the tree in order to be stress-free?
No, so therefore that's the whole thing, right? You cannot say I can learn. There are some organisms that will teach you how to not be stressed. There are some organisms that will not teach you. Therefore, what you're really learning, when you look at the tree, you don't look at stress. You look at something else to learn from the tree. Now, therefore, when you go to asknature.org and you type in stress, STRESS, it will give you those organisms that you can learn about stress. In this case, it was iguana, monkeys, and ant. As far as solar energy capture is concerned, you can learn from the tree. So every organism has a particular function. So the tree may not teach you how to de-stress yourself. So you have to ask what in nature teaches me how to de-stress myself. Yeah, can we mimic the great qualities of nature by deep observation? Yes, you can. And observation is critical for learning anything at all. Thank you for that question. The theory of conversion of energy in various forms, the dynamics of activity, but how do you approach in the case of a tree to reach? Yeah, that's a great question. So the whole question is, so when you learn about the tree, you start to understand what the tree does in order to transfer heat, or in order to capture the energy and transfer it to a different type of energy. So that will directly come under what strategy the tree is using. Whoever asked that question, it's a great question. I would advise you to go to asknature.org, type in tree or type in leaves, and the strategy of the leaf will be available to you. What lessons can urban planners learn from the forest ecosystem? Yeah, I have an example of that. I have an example of what lessons can urban planners in the next phase of my lecture. Thank you so much for your questions. Great. In what ways can the study of shark skin inspire innovations reducing bacterial growth? Yeah, that's exactly what I was saying, right? So already there's a company called Sharklet. So all I'm asking you to go to the Sharklet website and look at what Sharklet is doing. And maybe you can start a new company in India similar to Sharklet. Because shark skin inspires. The problem of animal plants are pretty much different from human beings. How can we learn from them? Yeah, exactly what. So the problem of the monkey is different from the problem that I have, right? So it's not literally the same problem. The problem that the monkeys may have could be shortage of food, predators, etc. But anyway, ultimately, they're also going through stress. And that is why the way they solve the problem, I try and find out if I can use their strategy. It's a great question again. Very nice, great questions. I love these questions because you know what? I may not be able to answer all the questions, but if we didn't have this Earth Day, and if we didn't have biomimicry, we wouldn't be able to ask these questions. How might the lightweight and strong structural design of bamboo inspire the development of more? Yeah, again, I think it's a great architect question. Maybe you should tell your architect to really use a lot of lightweight materials in order to make buildings. Tell me one thing, Roy. I know all of you are asking some great questions, but the question is, why are we not doing it? Why are we not doing it? Why are we not learning more about nature? Learning more from nature is the worrying thing that we might have. Super. You're really making my job very joyful today. Can I go to the next page, Shweta? How can individuals or small business without extensive resources? Yeah, this is the easy question. All you've got to do is just join. You just write to me and I'll tell you everything about biomimicry. You can come and attend our classes at IIT if you want, and you can learn biomimicry, start an industry around biomimicry. Yeah, I will come back to this plastic. I will talk about a particular material that we are discovering in IIT Madras that can actually eat plastic. So I'll come back to that question. planet versus plastic should be an easy problem to solve. We put our mind to it. Brilliant. I'm so happy with your questions. I'm going to take you to a exciting aspect of biomimicry now. And then I'll stop because that's the final phase I have. You mentioned the importance of reconnecting with nature in biomimicry. Can you share some tips for people who want to observe it? Yeah, that's the easy question, right? Thank you very much for that question. So there is this thing about wanting to be near nature, going into a forest, or simply. I think if you can simply keep your windows open and look at nature next time, and simply say, "I'm looking at a teacher and not a tree," that's more than enough for reconnecting. We reconnected during COVID with biomimicry by sitting in an air-conditioned room. If we can simply learn from nature, I think reconnection is complete, because most of us in cities will not be able to go into a forest at all. Does that mean that we don't love nature? We can still love nature by reconnecting, by learning biomimicry, by learning how nature does innovation and all that. Brilliant questions. Keep them coming. Ah, nice. So I'm taking you to a different adventure now, okay? Just watch this adventure and then we'll stop. Nature's design principles. That means what? There are principles that nature uses in order to make design. So these are the 10 principles. Don't get scared by these 10 principles. I'm not going to read it out. I'm going to explain each principle with an example, okay? There are 10 design principles. Look at the first principle. Nature uses only the energy it needs and relies on freely available energy. I mean, what are we learning? We're learning that this is what nature does. Nature uses only the energy it needs and relies on freely available energy. So this is the principle. The question that you ask yourself is, am I following this principle? Am I doing what this principle is telling me to do? Let's look at some examples for this. Now, this is a company called EcoStep, EcoSTP. You won't believe what happened. It's there in Bangalore, right? It started by a person in Bangalore. I have met him. I've spoken to him. He's an absolutely stunning person, because this is what he does. So he looks at the cow's stomach and has come back with a drainage system using the cow's stomach, the principle of the cow's stomach. Great biomimicry example. Now, he was inspired by the wetlands and by the cow's stomach. He has a company called EcoSTP. Look it up on Google. And if you are building a new flat, you can invite him to make the sewage system for you. How does it work? How does it work? Now, the cow's stomach has 4 stages, right? Stage 1, stage 2, stage 3. When the cow eats grass, the grass is filtered from one stage to the next stage and the next stage. And it passes on from one stage to the other without using any pump, without using any electricity, any energy at all. And ultimately, when the cow is able to completely separate the food from just like any of our stomachs, but especially the cow's stomach, because it's very beautifully designed. So it uses the same principle of the cow's stomach to construct the sewage system in a block of flats. I would request you to please, because especially there are no moving parts at all, right? Look at the cow's stomach. There are no moving parts. He has imitated the cow's stomach. I don't want to spoil his fun, because I think it's important to, with respect, I want to respect this founder. So you must Google EcoSTP and find out what EcoSTP is doing in order to create a sewage system which imitates the cow's stomach. Brilliant. Many of you are asking me, right, about architecture. Now, how many of us would want to use this type of sewage system in the new building that we're starting? How many architects will want to learn biomimicry now? So can the chartered accountants of the world inspire their clients and customers to actually learn biomimicry to make sewage systems that do not harm the atmosphere, that do not harm the earth? I'm just going to give you a minute. If you're Googling eco-STP, I'm going to give you a minute to Google and find out. So that's the first principle. What does the first principle say? Now look at the principle. Nature uses only the energy it needs and relies on freely available energy. The great example, the cow's stomach and eco-STP. The second principle, if you're ready for it, the second principle is nature tends to optimize rather than maximize. Nature does not keep on building. Nature tends to optimize rather than maximize. What is the example for that? Look at these. These are the great new houses coming in called tiny houses. What is it teaching us? It's teaching us that after all, what you really need is about 100 square feet of space. I'm not joking. Just try it. We keep adding our bedroom, one bedroom, two bedrooms, three bedrooms, five bedrooms. Ultimately, we all sleep in just one bedroom. And suddenly we have this great need for space, right? Large houses, huge. We go all the way to Rajasthan to get marble and build a house in Chennai. Nature saying, no, I don't do that. Nature says, what is optimized? What is the maximum I require? I require, in this case, 100 square feet. I build a house for 100 square feet. So these are called tiny homes. Can you imagine how our urban infrastructure will change if all of us lived in small houses? We could afford to live in anywhere, I live in Mylapore. I can't even dream of buying a house in Mylapore. But if I'm going to build a 100 square feet house and about 300, so about maybe 10 of us can get together in this community and buy one plot of land in Mylapore and live in Mylapore. Maybe if 20 of us can get together and buy something in Poyas Garden. When I'm talking about Poyas Garden, which is Chennai, which is very, very expensive. So any of us can live anywhere as long as we say, I want to live in a small house. We can be bang in the middle of the city. Why are we looking for 3 bedrooms? I'm not judging any of you. I'm trying to say this is what nature does. Nature optimizes and not maximizes. That's the concept that that nature is trying to teach you. That nature optimizes, it does not maximize. Any questions so far, Shweta? Because I've got 8 more principles to talk about. Any questions, Shweta? How? I got some questions here. Yeah, I will talk about the books in biomimicry. Yes. Why is green color? I don't know. I really don't know. Why is green pleasure feeling? I don't know. Is there an enforcement agency in nature like how we have police? No, there is no enforcement agency in nature. I think it's self-discipline. How far? So aeroplanes are inspired by biomimicry. Yes, Leonardo da Vinci drew the picture of a flying machine 500 years ago. Aeroplanes are built on how birds fly and all that. Yes, great question. Thank you. I will talk about prairie and ecosystem soon. Any other questions? Yeah, how many human beings or how many human again, I have got examples for almost for every of these principles. I've got examples. You can also read books how biomimicry is being solved. Also, please understand biomimicry is a very, very young science. So there's a lot of things, a lot of stuff to go, right? So let me go to. Yeah, correct. You're right. Most of the time, it's the search for food that causes stress for nature. Very good. Yes. So what were we doing? We were doing tiny homes, right? So I'm just going to share the next design principle. Nature recycles all materials. It's the third principle. Nature recycles all materials. The example for that is, look at this. It's called Ambikapur in Chhattisgarh. It's a zero waste city. It's a zero waste city. The largest possible quantity of waste is subjected to scientific treatment and recycling, minimizing the need to construct new landfills. So every type of waste is recycled in Ambikapur, Chhattisgarh. Look it up on Google. There is something called a garbage clinic. Have you ever heard of that word? We have heard of clinic for human beings, but here is a clinic for garbage. It tells you how to treat garbage, what type of treatment to give to garbage. If there is plastic, what should you do with it? If there is moist food, what should you do with it? If it's paper, what should you do with it? So there are garbage clinics, and waste is segregated at the source. So the minute I create waste, it is segregated at the source. Recyclables are extracted and sent to recycling industries for various gainful applications. Biodegradable waste is treated in a decentralized manner. So this is right from our own country called Ambikapur, where zero waste is maintained, because whatever waste happens, it's immediately recycled, just like what happens in nature. So nature is teaching us, nature recycles all materials. In Ambikapur, we recycle all materials. So what have we learned? We have learned three principles of nature. What are the three principles? Principle one is nature uses only the energy it needs and relies on freely available energy. Nature, and for that, the eco-STP was the answer. Nature tends to optimize rather than maximize. For that, the tiny homes was the answer, was the example. Nature recycles all materials, for which Ambikapur is the example. The next principle is very interesting. It is nature runs on information. Tell me, if you really look at this principle, purposely, I have not given any industry because I want you to find out yourself. After this lesson is over, the lecture is over, I want you to Google and ask, how does nature use information? I'm going to give you a hint. A hint is bees, B-E-E-S. There's something called swarm technology, S-W-A-R-M, swarm technology. I would like you to learn it on your own, because I don't want to give you everything, on your hand and say, okay, take it. I think every one of us makes some effort in learning biomimicry. So therefore, I would like you to look at swarm technology and ask yourself, how does nature run on information? Just to inspire you, I'm sure all of you have seen a lizard in your house. A lizard is on the wall, and suddenly it's a small insect, and the lizard is very quiet. And at one point of time, the lizard pulls out its tongue and catches the insect. Now, how does the lizard know? How does the lizard know that the insect is at the right distance? How does the lizard know that the insect is of the right size? How does the lizard know that by pulling out its tongue the right time it can catch the insect? It is running on information. There is the Venus flytrap, which is open like that. It's a flower. It's open like this. And once a fly enters it, it closes. How does the Venus flytrap know that the fly has entered it? That means it's running on information. And many computer systems are being built using nature as the inspiration. So nature runs on information is one design principle. The next principle is nature provides mutual benefits. We know that very well. Look at that shark. Look at that whale there. It's got these small fish swimming on it. So the whale doesn't disturb the small fish. The small fish is sitting on the whale, and the small fish, the whale is swimming around. And whenever there's a small insect or something that comes on the whale, the small fish eat it up. And so the whale allows the fish to travel around free of cost, no bus charge, no taxi charge, nothing. And the small fish are helping the whale because it's eating up all the bacteria, all those germs, all those insects that come on the shark. So mutual benefits. I help you, you help me. This is what nature does. Any questions so far? We have learned 5 principles. Any questions so far? Because all these questions have been asked by the participant. I don't know why that question. Yes, all these questions have been asked. I don't know who asked it, but yes, everyone has asked. Any other questions? What you learned up to now? Anything about the Chhattisgarh example? Anything about nature? Anything about tiny homes? How many of you have large homes? How many of you want to build small homes? Why do you think we should not build too many rooms? Why? How can we change? How can we change the society? Yes, of course. That's the whole point, right? I don't know who asked the question. I wish your name was there. It's a great question. So environmentalists learn from nature to stop deforestation. Yes, absolutely. What is your view on tiny homes? I'm just very interested. One or two of you. Do you think all of us can learn to live in small houses rather than huge houses? Do you think we can change? I just need one or two comments on that. Let's stop learning biomimicry for some time. Let's have a discussion on tiny homes. I'm very interested to find out whether we can contribute to nature by building small houses instead of 5 rooms and 6 rooms. Because every time you build a room, you have to have energy, you have to have AC, you have to have fan, you have to have paint, you have to have bricks, you have to have concrete. Every time you build a new room, right? Can we build a small house? What is your view on living in a tiny home? And how do you think the world will? It's my turn to ask you questions now. How do you think the world will change if all of us lived in small houses? Do you think it's even possible? I'm looking at what you can type. Your opinion on tiny homes. Let me show you the picture. Let me show you the picture on tiny homes. Yeah. Look at the home. Very small home. Very small house. Give me one or two comments. I like that answer. Gaurav, thank you. What I feel human. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, thanks, Gaurav. Anyone else? Anyone else? Your view on tiny homes? Why is it that we build so many rooms? And Gaurav is saying yes, it's agreed. But is there a lesson to be learned from nature? All right. Let me go to the next principle, and then we stop. Time is almost 3:20. 10 more minutes, and I stop. So we learned this. We learned this. We learned this. So nature provides mutual benefits. The example is typically most freight carrying trucks do not carry loads on the return trip. I'm sure as accountants, many of you know this very well. I'm sure your clients are complaining that they're coming back with their trucks empty. So here, what happens is mutualism increases cost of transporting goods. So therefore, what it does, AI-enabled platform helps companies to cooperate to fill empty trucks on the return. So if my truck is going from Agra to Delhi and is going to come back empty, then I collaborate with other people to find out if something can come from Delhi to Agra, thereby reducing the cost of petrol and things like that. Using AI, I find out what are the empty trucks in Delhi and whether the Delhi trucks can all the truck companies collaborate in order to bring back something from Delhi to Agra without spending too much money. This is again a great principle from nature, that nature has mutual benefits. I help you, you help me. And then the next principle is nature is resilient to disturbances. And this is a great principle. Look at this, okay? This is something called self-healing concrete, where concrete is widely used as building material. bioconcrete where bacteria is mixed in the concrete, and whenever there is a crack in the concrete heals itself. This principle comes from nature is resilient to disturbances. And there's a lovely example I want to share with you about nature is resilient to disturbances, where there is this pine cone, huge tree, and it has got two seeds. It has got two seeds. Now, when there's a fire, just listen to what I'm saying. It's a great example of resilient to disturbances. There's a huge tree. Look at this tree, okay? Look at this forest. Now, let's assume there is a fire in this forest. What happens? All the trees are destroyed. But how does the forest grow back? It has got two types of seeds. One seed is the normal seed. The second seed will grow only if it touches hot earth. When the earth is very hot and the forest has been completely destroyed. Now this seed is there on the ground, and this seed will burst open only if the ground is very hot. Can you believe the magic? That means the whole tree can grow back again. And can we adopt this principle in our life, right? Can we have 2 or 3 backup plans? When plan 1 fails, can we go to the next plan and next plan and next plan and things like that? So self-healing concrete, look at self-healing concrete, how concrete can heal itself. There's no need for you to repair your walls if you put this bacteria in your cement. Nature uses chemistry that are safe for living beings. Nature does not use toxic chemicals. Nature uses only safe chemistry. Nature does not use toxic chemicals. Nature uses shape to determine functionality. Look at the bullet train. It's a classic example, right? So when the bullet train was being manufactured, the bullet train was making too much noise. So the engineer was saying, how do I solve this problem? So he looked at the kingfisher. You know, the kingfisher is a bird, and when the kingfisher dives into the water, there is no splash. So he looked at the beak of the kingfisher and he imitated the bullet train's nose, just like the beak of the kingfisher. So when the kingfisher dives into the water, there is no splash. He imitated the same technology in the bullet train, and now when the bullet train goes through the tunnel, it does not create noise. So therefore, the bullet train is a great example of biomimicry, learning from the kingfisher. Nature builds abundant resources, incorporating rare resources. So here you have this, like I said about the Rajasthan example, right? So therefore, whatever is available locally, are you using local materials? Are you using local materials for building your houses, for doing whatever you want? Why are we going all the way to Rajasthan to get marble to build houses in Chennai? Are we using the materials that are available in Chennai in order to build houses in Chennai? Are we using the materials available in Agra to use? But that's what nature does. So don't shout at me. Don't scream and say, Shiva, what is this? We want to build a great house. I'm not preventing you from building a great house. I'm teaching biomimicry now. I'm teaching how nature is sustainable, how nature champions sustainability. And if this today is the Earth Week, and if we're interested in sustainability, this is what we must do. We should not get materials from Agra or Rajasthan to build houses in Chennai. We should not. We should only build what is locally available, because that is what nature does. It's no use arguing with me. I know many of you will be unhappy with what I'm saying, but that's what nature is doing. Right? That's exactly what nature is doing. Nature is only looking for materials around it. Look at the crow, right? The crow's nest in Chennai will be different from the crow's nest elsewhere, because the Chennai crow is using the materials that are available to it. And similarly, all birds like that. So this is a great lesson we are learning from nature in order to use local materials. Nature is locally attuned and responsive. Brilliant example for this. Look at this. This is called Jeevan Bindi. The principle is local understands local, right? Nature understands what is around, what is local. The great example, I think this is my final example, is Jeevan Bindi. Now, what is available around you? Jeevan Bindi is a great example of iodine deficiency among women in India who cannot afford nutrients and supplements. And this causes a lot of deficiency in them. So local health center doctors give iodine supplement pills, but the women are not taking them. The doctors are saying take pills for iodine. They are not taking them. So what did Jeevan Bindi do? So iodine is absorbed through the skin. Iodine is absorbed through the skin. So what they did was, because most Indians wear the bindi, they said they'll put some iodine in the bindi, and when they put on the bindi, they imbibe, they get the iodine content that they want. So what are we learning? Again, we are going to local practices. Whatever is local practice, whatever is local material, if we learn from them, then we can thrive. But if we try to do something that is not natural to us, then it becomes a problem. So that's nature's design principles. I think I've come to an end of my lecture. Time is exactly 3:30. And finally, I have a checklist, okay? This is for those people who are interested in biomimicry. Every one of these principles, you can ask your clients. Sripriya talked about NGOs, she's talking about sustainability, she's talking about sustainability reporting. Look at this checklist. You can ask your client, are you manufacturing locally? Are you incentivizing local userships? Can you build existing tools or templates? How can you leverage the local community? How are you utilizing networks? This is for finding out if sustainability work is going on. I have several of these checklists I can share with you. The second checklist is, can you design by recycling? Can you choose a technical or biological loop? Can you make use of a current waste stream? So if you are advising your client, can you ask him these questions? So like this, I have checklists for almost every one of those principles. If you write to me, I can share it with you. It's a great way to ask your client, what is your client doing for sustainability? And finally, for further reading, you can look at these two websites. It's called biomimicry.org and asknature.org. And these are the books some of you asked. It's called Biomimicry by Janine Benyus, Biomimicry for Business. Shark's Paintbrush is a beautiful book to find out what industries are adopting biomimicry. So that comes to the end of my lecture. That's my email ID and phone number. So I'm happy that I spoke to all of you. What have we learned? We have learned that biomimicry is understanding the strategy of nature and using that strategy to solve human problems. We have learned how to do biomimicry. You start with the question saying, what is it that I want to do? What is the problem I have? Then next you go to say, how does nature solve that problem? Third, what in nature solves that problem? And finally, how can I use nature strategy to solve the problem? And the final thing we learned was that nature has 10 design principles. For instance, nature only uses the energy. Nature does not waste energy. Nature uses local materials. Nature runs on information, all these things. And we looked at some industries that are using it. And I've also given you some books that you can start using to learn biomimicry. So essentially, we also teach biomimicry in schools. So many of you who is listening now can learn biomimicry and go back and teach in schools. Let me give you one story from a school, some story that I'll never forget. We were teaching my partner and I, Mrinalini and I were teaching biomimicry in a school. It was a 9th standard Tamil medium school. And we were teaching here 13 sessions and we were teaching. And there were 3 teachers in the school who were teaching along with us. The last day we asked the children a question. The question was, who is your teacher? Now, normally, 8th standard kid will reply, Bhuvana is my, because there were 3 teachers. Bhuvana is my teacher, Priyanka is my teacher, and Hemlata is my teacher. 3 teachers. That was the question, right? We asked the children, who is your teacher? And the answer expected was these 3 teachers. But you know what the children did? Okay. Put on chat. What do you think the children did that surprised us? What do you think that the children did that made us feel so happy that we are teaching biomimicry to children? The question was, who are your teachers? We expected 3 answers, 3 teachers' names. What did the children do to surprise us? What do you think the children did to surprise us? What do you think the children did to surprise us? Come on, give me some answer. Just try it. Who are your teachers is the question. What do you, after learning biomimicry, what do you think the children said? What do you think the children said? So, the children said, anyone? The children said, Revati is my teacher. Brilliant, thank you, great. So the children said, Revati is my teacher, Priyanka is my teacher, Hemlata is my teacher, and I have a new teacher called, anyone? Quickly type that word inside. I have a new teacher called, what is the new teacher's name? If you type that answer, I'll be happy that I have been able to fulfill my purpose today. Very good. The new teacher is called environment. Any one more answer? The new teacher is called? One more answer. What is biomimicry? Biomimicry. Very good. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Ajay Jain. Great. Super. Brilliant. So now, what are we learning? Now the children by learning biomimicry are looking at nature as teacher. Nature, and in India, we know that the teacher is even superior to God, right? Because we never disrespect our teachers. We don't spit on our teachers. We don't throw mud on our teachers. We don't throw trash on our teachers. So once you teach young children to look at nature as teacher, can you imagine the change we can cause in this world, right? When this child becomes a very senior chartered accountant like you, this child is right now, 14 years old. In 10 years' time, she will become a very, very powerful, very influential chartered accountant. But that lesson saying teacher, nature is my teacher will remain in her head. And she will advise her clients. She'll advise her clients to respect nature. So all we have to do for sustainability is to wait for 10 years. Teach biomimicry to 8th standard, 9th standard children who are 14 years old. Wait for 10 years for them to become presidents and vice presidents and chartered accountants and doctors and engineers and chief executives. And you see how the world will change. Because then we are, I don't think there's any hope for us, but there's a lot of hope for the young people of this country to learn biomimicry, to learn from a 3.5 billion-year-old teacher, to learn from nature and use what nature is teaching them. I have completed my lecture, Ajay ji.
Thank you, sir. Thanks a lot.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Now I would like to request Ajay Jain sir to give the vote of thanks, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, sir. It is with immense gratitude. It is with an immense gratitude and a sense of fulfillment that we conclude this enlightening session on the theme Biomimicry, Learning from Nature. We extend our heartiest thanks to all who have contributed to making this event a resounding success. We express our sincere appreciation to Sri Priya Kumar, Chairperson of the Sustainability Reporting Standards Board, for her lightning welcome address, setting the tone for today's discussion. Her leadership and dedication to advancing sustainability practices are truly inspiring. We are grateful to CA Dr. Anuj Goyalji, Vice Chairman of SRSB, for his enlightening keynote address, providing valuable insights into the importance of biomimicry in sustainability practices. A special thanks to Mr. Siva Subramaniam ji, co-founder of Biomimicry Compass, incubated at IIT Madras, for his enlightening session on biomimicry and its applications in sustainable design. His expertise and passion for innovation have been truly inspiring. We would also like to thank our event enablers, CA Saurabh Saxena ji, Secretary Agra Branch, CA Gaurav Singhal ji, Vice Chairman Agra Branch, CA Vivek Agrawal ji, Sikasa Chairman and immediate past Chairman Agra Branch, for their support. Last but not least, our sincere thanks to all the participants for their active engagement and insightful questions during the session. In conclusion, we look forward to continuing our journey towards sustainable practices and learning from nature's wisdom. Thanks to all once again to everyone involved, and we hope to see you in next future events. Thank you to all.
Thank you, sir. Thanks a lot. Thank you, Shiva sir. Thank you, Gaurav sir. Thank you, Ajay sir.
Bye.
Very nice learning from you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thanks a lot. Yes.